Hi everyone, how are you doing? Hope you're doing fantastic. My name's Afton, if you haven't been here before. And for those of you who have been here before, you'll notice we're doing something a little bit different today. Yeah, we're not doing tabletop. I'm actually showing my face. And the reason for that is you probably already saw in the title of the video, but we're going to do a VR to Coyote Tarot. Let me reintroduce myself. And I thought this was a good idea to do now because we're coming up on the anniversary, 1 year anniversary of having my tarot channel. So yeah, I thought this was a good spot to do it. In retrospect, I wish I had gotten a chair rather than sitting on a pile of blankets on the floor. But here we are. This is my bookshelf. You're only seeing a small portion of it, but I'll tilt the camera up later once we get to one of these specific prompts and show you some of the rest of it. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. If you see me looking down, it's just because I'm looking at the actual prompts here that I've got written out. So we're going to start with the basics. Where are you from? I am located in Canada. I was born and raised here, Alberta specifically. Though I did have a 6-year transfer. I lived down in the States for about 6 years when I was doing my undergraduate degree. But I have mostly been here in Canada for the majority of my life. And yeah, I'm here in my hometown where I was raised. So that's where I am. How did you come up with your TarotTube name or your YouTube name? So Afton with a Z is my Instagram handle. I had that long before I started a YouTube channel. And so I figured let's just keep it easy and use the same thing because I was having trouble coming up with like a tarot related name for the channel. So I was like, well, we'll just stick with that. And it'll just be what it'll be. But the reason I came up with the name itself, like for my Instagram, how it came about is, first of all, it's a reference to Liza Minnelli, Liza with a Z. But in Canada, we say Z, so it's Afton with a Z. And the reason it works is because my last name is Polish, and it starts with a big consonant cluster at the beginning with a Z in the middle. And that's usually where people get thrown off and they're like, wait, why is there a Z in your name? Like, you don't hear it at all. So that's where it came from. Afton with a Z, Liza Minnelli, because I'm a musical theater nerd, and because of my last name. So that's where that came from. How long have you been reading tarot? So tarot specifically, I've been reading since, I want to say 2021. It was sometime around the pandemic where I got into it. And the reason I got into tarot is because of one of the spiritual teachers, I guess you'd call her, that I follow on YouTube. She uses tarot. And before, I hadn't really thought about using tarot specifically. I'd known about oracle cards, that kind of thing beforehand, but I had never thought to actually use tarot. I didn't really know anything about it. And then this particular spiritual teacher that I follow, her name is Amanda Ellis, if anyone's curious about her. She used a deck in one of her videos that I really thought was beautiful. And I want to say it was, oh gosh, I'm not going to be able to think of the name right now. Oh gosh, do I have it up here? No, it's downstairs. There's the Field Tarot. That's what it is, the Field Tarot. That is the deck that I saw that I really fell in love with and wanted to get my hands on. And that's actually kind of how I got into knowing about TarotTube as well, because that was also, the two things were kind of joined, honestly, as to how I got into tarot. So I ended up looking for a video, a walkthrough of the Field Tarot on YouTube, and that's how I found Don Michelle's channel, and Don Michelle led me to Lisa Pepez's channel, and that's how everything started. So that's when I really started learning tarot, and I want to say I started learning tarot mostly because of Lisa Pepez's videos. Her Tarot for Beginners, the free series that she did on her YouTube channel. Yeah, so that's kind of how the tarot started. How did you get into reading tarot and or oracle? I have kind of always had oracle cards in my life since I was young. My mother started her own spiritual journey when I was 5 or 6, I want to say. So I've always kind of had oracle cards around the house, known about them. I just never got into tarot because she wasn't into tarot. So that's really the biggest, that's why, then that's how. And those of you who have been watching my channel for a little bit here probably are like, you don't use oracle, and that's absolutely right. And I honestly, even though I had the oracle cards around the house, or we'd go to a metaphysical store and I'd pick out a deck, I didn't really use the oracle cards all that much even then, looking back on it. It's really not until I found tarot that I did this deep dive and really became interested in it. So that's that. Do I read for others? No, I mostly read for myself, but I would like to read for others. And the reason for that is mostly to hone my own reading skills, my tarot reading skills, because, if I read for myself, I'm reading more for, bettering myself, doing that inner work, that kind of a thing. But I already know what's going on in my life. So I think that challenge of reading for somebody else without knowing all the intimate details about their actual situation, learning to trust my intuition, that kind of thing, I think that would be really great and beneficial. So it is something I would like to start. And luckily in my town, like, we're not a big town, but we actually have a fairly decent, if you want to call it like a new age community, that kind of a thing. So I think there probably is opportunities there. I just haven't actually sought them out yet, but I think that's something I would like to do in the future here. So yeah. All right, moving on to the next section, decks. How do you use oracle with tarot? Not really. I once in a while I will, not very often. The oracle decks that I will use the most, I will say, have been the Seasons of the Witch oracles that have come out, which I believe they're now finished, and they're going to start coming out with some tarot decks, I think. They're actually sitting right here. These are 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. There's a couple further up there. There's one, I think, in my bedroom currently. So those, if I'm going to read with oracle with tarot, those are the ones that I will typically pull out. I did just do a reading for myself the other day where I actually used a different oracle with tarot, and I think it was the Oracle d'Or, like Oracle of Au-delà Redon by Melissa Wotherspoon. I used that with Tarot Sirena by Mr. Freiborg. And it was, yeah, I don't really have a preference in terms of like pairing aesthetically together. I mean, I sort of do, but it's not like, I don't do it that often, so it's not a big deal for me. It's more about what feels right together. But to answer the question succinctly, no, I don't usually read oracle and tarot together. And I think because I'm never really sure which one to start with, like if I want to pull the oracle card first and then the tarot, or if I would pull the tarot card first and then the oracle. And I usually, if I do read them together, I'll usually do one oracle card with 2 tarot. And I'm trying to think when I have done it in the past. I feel like I normally will pull the tarot first and then pull the oracle after. But honestly, it probably really doesn't matter, I think. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. How many decks do you have? Okay, so I have about 150 tarot decks and about 25 oracle decks, I want to say. I do keep like a running list, just in like a Word document. So every time I get a new deck, I will put that into the list. I do have some duplicates, which aren't necessarily represented in that number. Maybe about a handful, maybe 10, like, extra spare copies. but for the most part, they're all single, like one, unless I have like a second edition, you know, first and second edition, that kind of a thing. But I try not to do that because usually there's not a ton of difference unless it's like a really special deck that I'm like, oh, I need all the editions that I want to collect. So that's that. Where do you store your decks? Right here. I'll give you a bit of a pan up here. So this is my IKEA bookshelf, and we're more at the bottom here. So these are some of my tarot decks. This shelf here that you can't really see, these are like my favorites, the ones that I pull more often than not. Sorry, I'm putting myself out of camera here. These are just more tarot decks. Not really in any particular order. I actually tend to go more by like size than anything. So kind of bigger, chunkier decks here, and then smaller ones up on top, just for storage purposes. And you can see they're pretty much all in bags. I do have some that are not in bags, kind of tucked behind. Let's see if I even have, oh, what's this? Oh, I have one of my Vendor Tarots. So I have two Vendor Tarots, the first edition and the second edition. So I have a bag made for the first edition, and then this one is the second edition, but I obviously have not made a bag for it yet. Mostly because the material that I have for that is, I mean, it would be the same. I would want to use, I just love the material so much, I would want to use the same one for this. But then I'd be like, well, how do I tell the difference between them? So I just haven't actually made the bag yet. So that's that. These guys down here are all of my Oracle decks. So you can see, whereas I have tons of decks, like they're like double stacked here for my tarots, and that continues all the way up. I can just do a single section for my oracles, because there are not that many. Okay, what do you look for in a deck? I mean, you can answer this so many ways. It's always, I find, easier to answer what don't I look for in a deck. So I'm just gonna adjust that so you guys aren't like staring at the side of the bookshelf there. What do I look for in a deck? First of all, size is a big thing for me. I have small hands, so I am always looking for, and this is, guys, this is why I don't do like showing my face, because I feel like looking at the camera, I'm seeing what it actually looks like. And if I'm not happy with it, I make a million adjustments. And also, I don't like to edit. So I'm probably just going to leave all that in, because I really don't want to have to go in and edit everything. So anyway, getting back to the question, what do I look for in a tarot, in a deck? Size. I don't like anything really big. And size combined with cardstock for sure, because if it's like an oracle size deck combined with a thick cardstock, so it makes it a chunky deck, I find it very difficult to shuffle. And shuffling is like it's one of the biggest things, right? You have to consider. Then on top of that, which is less important, I guess, than size, for me is the finish. I don't mind the rose petal finish. I prefer more of a smooth. I like the way the soft touch, the rose petal feels, hypothetically, but then if it's a really like thick, heavy rose petal, like the Danielle Noel decks, I've said that before, that combined with the size and the cardstock, they just are really difficult for me to handle. I can't shuffle them well. There are some rose petal decks though that are really nice, that I do really like the Curious Travels Tarot, the Indie edition. That has a soft touch feel to it, but it's not as sticky, I guess. It's just more lightly done, and that one I actually really like. So those are some of the things that I do consider when I'm buying a deck. In terms of artwork, I usually stay away from any artwork that's too like cartoonish, anything that's more, I don't want to say like childlike, but more in that the decks that a lot of people are like, oh, this would be great for inner child work. Those are the ones that I tend to not really care for the art style. I've got a few, that being said, but those are the ones I tend to stay away from. I definitely love a good like curated art deck. And I have to be careful because those ones, like, you can collect too many, I feel like, and then they're just fighting for space. I got another one recently, the Folkloric Forest tarot deck by is it Lennox Reese? So that one I'm excited to use. Just honestly more like, and again, I'm not using the right words, but more of like a mature art style. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what to show you to pull out. Oh, we can pull out this guy. This is the textured tarot. This is the, one of the, like the bigger normal size. It's not the new edition. But like something like this. I don't know. It just seems very elegant to me, this type of art style. So yeah, that's more of my style. I wasn't really big into collage decks for a long time. Had a couple, didn't really do it for me. And then lately, for whatever reason, I've been really liking the collage style to, like, you know, not like crazy loving stuff, but there's certain ones, as long as they're not super cluttered, I do enjoy collage deck these days. Animal decks, not so much. I've got a couple, but I've realized that I don't need a lot of animal decks and I don't tend to use them. I definitely prefer actual people in my tarot decks. Yeah, so I hope that answers that question. How would you describe your deck collection? Like a library, I guess, is how I would describe it. It's, yeah, it's like, you know, if I'm feeling in a particular way, that's when I will go and grab a particular deck. I like the variants that I have in my collection, but I'm also starting to find that now that I've figured out what I don't want, I'm collecting a lot of more similar decks with similar art styles. And that's where I'm running into, okay, I think I have too many because I'm mostly pulling these ones and not these other ones that also kind of fill the same space. So yeah, I want to get it into more of like a curated library, I guess, as you'd say, to go through and really, am I using this? No. Okay, then I really don't need it. How long have I had it? How many times have I used it? Hardly at all. Like maybe once or twice when I first got it, like a year and a half ago. Okay, it probably doesn't need to stay in my collection then, right? And that's actually something that I want to do as kind of a side note. I think going forward through the summer, I'm going to do some deck collection videos with having that in mind of going through in order to cull my collection a bit and declutter. So that will probably be coming up in a little while here. Do you have a go-to tarot and oracle deck? Not really. I mean, I definitely have the ones that I would consider my favorite decks, but are they the ones that I'm always reaching for? No, if I'm not sure what deck to use for whatever particular question I have that I'm, you know, reading on, I don't necessarily automatically go to like those favorite decks. Like the decks that are coming to mind are like Sasarai Beto Tarot, for sure. That's like a number one. Tarot of Prague. Those are kind of like my tops. But if I'm not sure what deck to use, or I don't necessarily go to those ones immediately. I will usually come in here, I'll sit and stare at my my bookshelf and, you know, just kind of see where I'm being pulled, and then I'll grab a deck. So to answer the question, no, not really. I don't have like a go-to. And that could change. Who knows? It depends. We'll see what comes into my collection right? So, yeah. Do you rehome decks? And if so, what determines if it leaves your collection? Yes, I rehome decks. I post on like Facebook Marketplace and some of the groups. I've also sent some of my decks to one of the local metaphysical stores in town here. Sorry, my foot is kind of falling asleep in that position. The ones that I took to the metaphysical store were mostly mass market, ones that I knew that I wasn't going to be able to sell easily on Marketplace, because I'm in Canada. There's kind of a smaller market for that kind of thing. And I mean, to get rid of your mass market decks, like if they're still easily available, right, you're not going to get hardly anything for them. So, but I do, yes, I will rehome my indie decks that I'm not using. And it mostly comes down to just, do I feel like I need this in my collection anymore? If it's something that I haven't used in a long time and just haven't felt a connection to, something that I'm like, I don't think I'm going to use this anytime soon. I might still really like the deck in theory, but if I haven't used it, then what is it doing in my collection? Or it could be a deck that I got in thinking it was going to be one thing, and then opening it up and being like, oh, why did I do this? I found that lately too. I've really cut down on how many decks that I back on Kickstarter. And I'm not someone now who will back the deck right away on Kickstarter. If I see like a campaign come up for a deck, I usually wait until the campaign is almost done to really decide whether or not I'm going to purchase that deck or back the campaign in the first place. So I'm trying to be better about that, so that it does cut down on the amount of decks that I end up rehoming, because I've had quite a few lately, like in the past year or so, that I've rehomed. And it's also just a pain in the butt. Sorry, I won't swear. A pain in the butt to list them and then have to ship them out. You know, you get lots of inquiries, you have to respond. I have to be in the right mindset to rehome the decks and know that hopefully I will be getting lots of interest and then have to ship everything out. So yes, I do rehome decks. I don't enjoy doing it, but it is also nice to declutter and actually get those decks out of your home. All right, next section, your practice. What does your tarot practice look like? Is it daily? Location tools you use? When do you turn to the cards for answers? The past 6 months or so, I have not actually been using tarot a whole lot. I do have a tarot journal, and I counted how many entries I had for this like first half of the year. There were maybe about 30 entries, so I have not been using it very often. And some of those entries were my monthly envelopes that I have been doing this year. I haven't been very good about opening those on time, I'll tell you. I think my April envelope, I opened it like halfway through May. So yeah, normally when I've been better about being like actually using tarot, I tend to do more of like nightly draws, and that can be anywhere from drawing 1 to like 3 cards. And it's usually asking questions like, okay, what kind of energy was present today? What was something that came up that we had to, address or work through? Or what's something that's going to come up tomorrow that maybe I just have to like keep in mind or keep an eye out for? So that's usually what if I'm doing something fairly regularly, it's usually a nightly draw. Like I said, I have been also doing the monthly envelopes. So opening up the cards that I put in an envelope at the beginning of the year and just kind of reflecting on that. It's usually more of a reflective rather than what's going to happen in like this month. So I'll usually do it towards the end of the month just to see how those cards reflect what actually happened that month. So that's been kind of nice. What else? Other tools that I use with my practice, not really. I mean, I have pendulums. I don't really use them in conjunction with tarot at all. Like I said, don't use Oracle as much. Location, usually if I'm doing a nightly draw, it's literally in my bed, because I'll be like tucked in, ready to go to bed and be like, oh yeah, I should actually draw a card. So that's normally where it is, unless I'm doing like my monthly envelopes are usually downstairs on my dining room table. This is in my spare bedroom where we're at right now, where my bookshelf is. I don't have a desk in here. I do have a desk in my other bedroom, which is where I do all of my sewing projects, but there's not really enough room to also do my tarot draws there. So usually it's downstairs on my kitchen table. When do I turn to the cards for answers? Like I said, mostly just doing nightly draws, just seeing kind of what the overall energy is. Just like check-ins. I did recently, I've kind of been having some stress in my life, some anxiety that is totally brought upon by myself. And it's kind of like a repeating pattern that I've been noticing, that I'm well aware of. But I have not been very good about actually correcting that behavior. And so the other day I was actually just curious about kind of getting to the root of that. Like, I'm aware of this behavior and it's not healthy, and it's getting me into a bit of a pickle, which is causing a lot of anxiety. So what is the root of that? Like, why am I not fixing it? What do I need to do in order to fix it or address it? And what might it stem from? Like, is it something from this lifetime? Is it something from like a past lifetime? So that actually was a really interesting reading that I did. And I actually did the reading kind of twice. I know you're not really supposed to do this, but so I did it with one set of decks. And that's actually when I talked earlier about using the Oracle Door and Tarot Serena. That's the reading that I was doing. And I got some interesting answers. But then when I was going to bed later that night, I was thinking about it and I was like, I'm just curious to use Sassy Dragons to see what kind of answers I'm going to get on this, because typically with Sassy Dragons, you're going to get called out. And oh boy, did I. So that, yeah, that was a really interesting, fun, even though it was addressing some not so proud behaviors that I've been exhibiting lately. So that one was good. So I think maybe doing more soul work like that would be really interesting to do. I feel like I'm a fairly balanced person in terms of, you know, my life and how I run my life, how you know, my beliefs, how I behave. But I mean, everybody's got things, right? I'm a horrible procrastinator. And that's what's tying into all of this anxiety with this particular issue that I've been having. Yeah. So it's just taking a look at those personality traits, I guess, and taking a deeper look. Is this a healthy thing? Is it not? What's it stemming from? How do we address it? So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Okay. What does a typical tarot reading look like for you? It can look like anything. I don't use a ton of spreads, other than sometimes I will do like the energy obstacle advice once in a while. Usually I'll just kind of pull however many cards I feel like. I don't really have a set ritual in like how I shuffle cards and, you know, divide the deck, that kind of thing. I mostly will riffle shuffle for a little bit, and then once I feel like that's good, I'll switch to overhand shuffle. And that's usually where I get jumpers, and that's usually what I take. Either jumpers, or if there's a card that, you know, as you're overhand shuffling, it like sticks in your hand, and I'll take that card. But yeah, that's typically, I don't have any fancy, like some people like knock on their decks 3 times to like clear the energy. I don't really do that. So I will say, when I am pulling out a deck before I start shuffling, I'll usually like kind of talk to the deck, almost be like, hi friend, like, how are you? Thanks for being here. Is it okay if I ask you a couple questions? So that is kind of a quirk, I guess, that I do when I'm reading and picking out a deck. So, all right, YouTube and TarotTube section. What kind of content is your favorite to post and watch? I would say tags and deck hauls. Those are, yeah. I mean, if you look at the videos that I have myself put out, it's mostly been tags and a few deck hauls. And yeah, I do enjoy a good, like, nice long, like, full in-depth, like, walkthrough of a deck. I enjoy watching a flip through just for purposes of, like, seeing if I want to purchase a deck. But yeah, that's mostly, yeah, tags, deck hauls, and what did I say? Like, walkthroughs, in-depth walkthroughs when I've got the time, is always nice. How did you get into creating a YouTube channel? I basically wanted to, once I got into TarotTube, like, watching it, I was seeing all the tags come up and I was like, oh, that's really cool. So then in my brain, I would start thinking, oh, what would I use for that prompt? And sometimes I would actually write it down. And I was like, oh, it would be cool to, like, actually, like, share this with people and see if they agree. It's always fun to find a channel who has very similar tastes in decks that you do. So yeah, I just honestly wanted to contribute to the tags mostly. And that's kind of what led me to actually making a video, with the encouragement of actually Benny from the Fool's Tarot, or the Fool's Apprentice, sorry. He was doing some videos last year, and I think they're still planning to do more, where he would actually go in depth with another TarotTube, or just anyone he invited on his channel to do a video to talk about a specific card. So I did that, and I mentioned to him that I was thinking about maybe doing a channel, and he was like, yeah, absolutely do it. So then I did. So, because why not, right? Like, there's always room for more. And it's so easy now, like, I just record on my phone. So sometimes I don't think the audio quality is that great. I have to crank up the volume, but I mean, whatever, it works. It's easy enough for me to do it. So here we are. Yeah. Knowing what you know now about YouTube and TarotTube, is there anything you would do differently? Not really. I already kind of had a basic understanding of how to upload videos onto YouTube, just from, like, past stuff. I had to upload, like, videos privately, that kind of a thing. So I knew how to do that already. Honestly, if I were to change anything, I would like to do more of, like, this kind of style of video where I'm talking directly to the camera rather than tabletop, or starting out talking to the camera and then going to tabletop. But like I said, I hate editing. I find it actually a pain in the butt, and I don't have any like, real software to do it, like an actual editing software. So it just ends up being through, like, I don't know, it's like QuickTime or whatever, this video, when I put it into my computer, whatever the program is that it comes up with. And it's not always easy to remember how to do that. I'm sure, you know, if I did it more, yeah, I'd get the hang of it. But, you know, in terms of actually, like, putting pictures and stuff in my videos of, like, decks that I'm talking about, but I don't have physically in front of me, that would be nice. But I'm just not right now at the point where I want to expend that kind of energy or money into being able to learn how to do that. So for now, it is what it is. We'll see, you know, how long things continue with this channel. I don't have any plans to stop, but, you know, I like that I have not set myself into, like, a schedule of, oh, I have to upload, like, 1 video a week or 2 videos a week, or, you know, 1 every 2 weeks or whatever. I honestly just, I'm like, if I feel like I'm in the mood to upload a video, like make a VR to a tag, then I do it. And if I don't have the time, well, it might be 2 months before I put another video out. I've had a lot of things activities that I was doing. A lot of them have ended now when we're going into summer. And so I do, well, I shouldn't say I have more time. I have a little bit of time right now. The next month I will probably be pretty absent. But then after, like, into July, I'll probably be maybe a little bit more active, do more VRs that I've been wanting to do. So that is one thing, like I said, I'm grateful for, is that I didn't set myself up to then have to take a step back because I was trying to do too much. I just kind of do it whenever works for me. So Yeah, and I think that's always kind of nice too. I mean, it's nice for the viewers if you have a set schedule, or you know something's coming out like Monday and Thursday. But I also really enjoy it when I go onto YouTube and a new video pops up that I wasn't expecting to see. So that's always exciting. So I think that's where we'll keep it at. It's what I can manage right now. So is there anything I wish, you know, I had done differently? No, not really. I'm good with how things are going so far. I've talked about this before, but the reason for like setting up my channel mostly was for me. It wasn't necessarily about getting viewers. Obviously, I'm really grateful for all of you who have stuck around and have watched the videos, but it's really for me about connecting with my collection because I have so many decks. I've got a lot that I don't use. It's remembering when I pull them out for doing tags and like trying to vary them as much as I can through those tags and being like, oh yeah, I've got this deck. Why do I have this deck? Have I used it? Should I be using it, or does it need to go? It's really about, for me, connecting to my collection. So yeah. All right, well, I think we're at the end of the video for the most part. That's the end of the prompts. Like I said, going forward, I think I'm gonna do some declutter, going through my collection, showing you guys. We'll probably go maybe shelf by shelf. I'll probably start with my Oracle decks and just get those out of the way, and then we'll work our way up maybe. So yeah, thank you for joining me. It's been lovely. Yeah, and this wasn't near as bad as I thought it was gonna be, actually being like face forward on camera. So we'll see. We might do it again, but I might have to figure out a different situation rather than sitting on the floor. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, day, month, wherever you're at. Thanks. Bye.